me because I had never had to face failure head on like that. Like so in my face, so nitty gritty. Like you can't avoid that. People are asking, oh no, what happened to the tracker? Or how did your race go? Or, it had just been so amped up and there's no avoiding it. So that was a huge time for personal reflection for me. Like how did I get to this point? Because I'm not ever going to do that again. And also, like, I didn't know I could feel shame.
Welcome to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Croc, and every Monday, I talk to someone here in North Idaho with the goal to connect more people in the Coeur d'Alene area. And then every Friday, I talk to someone outside the community to bring in a new perspective and to learn a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I have Tayler with me. I always think of you as Sailor Tayler. She works for Hagedon, is at Marina Group, and she does some really cool things. Kind of a little like powerhouse and really young, but like just killing it out there. So first of all, thank you so much, Tayler, for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so
Of course.
excited.
Of course. And obviously, if you notice, I'm not in my regular location. So I was just telling her about my lighting situation and trying to figure things out. And I ended up getting a ring light for an early Christmas gift. So we're rolling with it today.
Love it. Love it.
That is not as good as your background. Your background is fantastic.
I can't complain. I'm happy to say that this is home. So
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now.
Oh, geez. So I am North Idaho native, one of the rare species anymore. um, but I've been with the Hagedon Corporation for almost 8 years, and I started out as the bread girl. So I know in your previous episodes you had talked about Beverly's.
Yes.
And something with lake views, it grabs my attention. I have to be on the lake all the time. And that's because I grew up here, but I started up at Beverly's as a bread girl, worked through a lot of different roles, and I have ended up here in the marine division. And so my life really revolves around recreation. And I would say that that's true in my personal life as well as obviously my professional life as well. So I currently am in sales there at Hagedon Marine. I sell boats and fun and lifestyle, which is really neat because, as we all know, like I said, native's a rare breed anymore. So we have a lot of people coming in, and what better way to get to know our area and enjoy our area than being out on the water.
And that's so true. Now that you say that, like, it's so funny because my office at the chamber, it's like right by the lakes. And I'm like, there's no other place to be than like right on the lake. Because when you're from here, you're like,
oh, there it is.
I know, we're so lucky.
Yeah, you look out and it's like, there's the water, but there's the mountains and the sunsets and the people and the restaurants and the things that all make our community. And for you, it's like, there's the races, there's the art on the green. So the events, literally anything that makes our community it's right there for us. Yep. And it's very close. And so it's so easy to take it for granted.
Right. And that's why we live here. And that's why it's like, that's why we stay. I mean, I went away for college I'm the same way. Like, this is why I stay, is because, I mean, you have the best of all the worlds and you're still close to like an airport. You're still a few hours from a big, huge, massive city. So it's just like, and then we're over in Montana in an hour. I mean, you just can't get anywhere better.
Oh yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. I mean,
actually, if you're listening, North Idaho's awful. Don't move here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's bad over here, guys. I'd stay away. We're contagious.
Yes. All right. So like what, I mean, I know we talked about how great, like living here and working on the water and being out here. What like really drew you to this career? Is it just because and I love, if you're listening, you've never been to Beverly's, and so you go to Beverly's when you come to town, so you know what the bread girl is, the orange roll, so you exactly know what that means. But what drew you to, I guess, the marine life and sales and that kind of thing?
So I think the first thing that got my attention was just being on the water. Our office has kind of a unique situation where we're actually located on the water. So every day I go from this is actually Hayden, So I go from lake to lake. And I think that's probably my immediate draw, but also being that the boating industry is incredible. So as I kind of dipped my toe in the water, pun totally intended, I realized so quickly how small of a community the boating industry is as a whole. And that I felt, I don't know, I could be wrong, but that felt pretty unique to me. So I'm used to the community that we have here, which I absolutely love. And I created kind of that same community, not the same, but a community in the boating industry very quickly. And I could go on and on and on because we just had our annual conference, which was virtual this year, not actually in person. But that is like the recharge each year. You see your friends, you get to hang out, you get to learn best practices and, how did everyone else do this year? What challenges did they face? How are you helping each other? Everyone is in it for each other. And that's ultimately what keeps me just pumped in the boating industry is that community.
Yeah, and if you grew up in North Idaho, you either had friends that had boats, your parents had boats, your aunts and uncles. I mean, there was always a boat in your life somewhere.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I learned how to wake surf out here on this lake back in high school. And it's funny now because, I've been doing cycle bar the last couple months, getting ready for Ironman next year. Just a little bit of, yeah,
Oh,
just
you're
a little
doing
bit of prep work before the real training digs in. But anyways, our cycle bar instructor, she was like, man, it was hot outside this morning. It's 5:15 in the morning, so it's like 40 degrees. And I was like, you're right. And she was like, who wants to go wake surfing? I was like, me. I'm known to do things like that. So yeah, it is. I mean, and it wasn't even our boat, but it's like, someone or it's friends. It's deep rooted. Being in the water is deep rooted in our community for
I,
sure.
I agree. That's so funny. So you're doing Ironman. You're one of the reasons Ironman sold out then.
Yep.
Oh my
Yeah. So actually, it'll be my third full, and then I've done the half as well, and all the little ones around town, which I love. That's not to discredit any of the little ones. I love our races around here, whether it's just running or it's the duathlon or even any kind of triathlon in between. But yeah, you had asked earlier or in some of your questions like failure, lessons learned, this, that. I did my first Ironman really young, so I did it at 18, and I didn't finish my first Ironman. So like it's funny that you brought up those questions because I was like so many of the lessons I learned like started there.
Well, then I'm excited to hear all your answers then.
Yeah,
So
I know.
so that is exciting. So you're going to sign up for the Coeur d'Alene Marathon to get that training in, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Iron Series, I was one of the founding racers.
Good.
So there was 8 or 9 of us. That's a tight bunch right there. And I actually was in Arizona at the time. I had moved down there for school for a brief time period. And I flew up to finish the Fondo because that was the year that the Iron Series had like been founded. So fun fact, I do have that initial little
You're,
Iron Series
you're
deal. But
cool.
yeah, absolutely. I would not miss the marathon.
Good. I love it.
Yep.
So let's go into some of those questions. First is, what is something you have failed at, and probably, and it can be like you said with fitness, it can be with whatever it may be. But what did like this failure? What did like you kind of learned a lot about yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you could even need to work on until you failed at something that's really, really important to you. And for me, it had been basically a lifelong goal to finish Ironman. Well, to race Ironman, do Ironman. I had been volunteering since I was little. Like that was my end all be all. And I failed. I got pulled off the bike course on my second lap. So I was at like mile 90 something out of 112. Yeah, and I missed a time cutoff, and that's on me. So when I failed, it was like I had worked all through my senior year of high school to achieve that. I had so many people, I felt like I had let down myself, but also so many people that believed in me, that cheered me on, that had given me the opportunity to like really prove myself and like, run with the faith that they had in me. And so when I failed, I was crushed. I was devastated. And I had a couple friends who got pulled off with me. It was super windy. Not an excuse, but I was not mentally prepared for that. And I had no idea what the mental game meant until I had failed at that. And I was like, it's not that I was in great shape. I physically could have done that. And I think that's the worst part is I knew that it was in my head where I had let myself down. So it was a time cap that I missed, and that's why I got pulled off and failed. And I came back a couple years later and went for it. And I totally burned myself out that season. So it's funny because you ask like what I failed at, and I'm like, that was a big turning point for me because I had never had to face failure head on like that, like so in my face, so nitty gritty. Like you can't avoid that. People are asking, oh no, what happened to the tracker? Or how did your race go? Or, it had just been so amped up and there's no avoiding it. So that was a huge time for personal reflection for me. Like how did I get to this point? Because I'm not ever going to do that again. And also, like, I didn't know I could feel shame like that or, feel like frustration and all the emotions. So it was a huge point where I just learned about myself, my efforts, learned about mental strength and all kinds of different things. And then obviously training for Ironman had given me a whole plethora of things that I had learned. And, at 18, that's a lot. So, I mean, I'm actually really grateful at this point in my life that I had failed at that one because I came back so much stronger the next time. And I actually had like the fail time. So like not the fail times. Ooh, I shouldn't call them that. The cutoff times. To anyone that gets cut off, they're not fail times.
Oops.
So,
Edit that.
edit that. So I actually had written down like on my hand, well, not my hand, like my wrist, so it wouldn't rub off with my wetsuit, the cutoff times for the bike and the run. And as soon as I had gotten off, I knew I had my watch going, like it would just, I was so excited when I got off the bike. But yeah, I mean, that's like my first deal with failure. And then everything from there is like, how do you respond to it? What's your immediate reaction? What does that feel like? What does that look like? And so, I mean, I kind of laughed. I was like, what have I failed at? I was like, well, that one lift the other day, that time I like spilled gas all over myself. Like there's small, but I mean, gosh, I learned so much from that one particular instance that it just stands out so boldly to me.
Oh yeah, and especially like you said, you're 18. Most 18-year-olds don't know what major failure is, and that's the part that gets you. It's like physically you're there, you're ready to go. You're like, I feel like you're trained for it. But when you're like the mental part, that's the part that's like you can't explain it. You're like, I've trained so hard. I know, but you weren't prepared for that mental game, which is it's a whole different level when it comes to something like that.
Oh yeah, it is. People ask, what's the hardest part of training for or what's the hardest part of Ironman? And they're like, they expect it's the swim or it's the bike or it's the run. And I'm like, the mental part and not the race, the training.
Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, spot on. So
Yeah.
you are a North Idaho girl. And obviously your hobbies, you like to do fitness and you said the outdoors. Is there something like that is like your jam, like it's your hobby, your go-to thing?
Oh man, very season by season. I kind of joke with my boyfriend that we have too many hobbies because one weekend will be jet boating, the next will be snowmobiling, then we'll be skiing, and then we picked up diving so that we could go diving on our vacation last November. So all the things like that's not something that I can answer. If I can get outside and do something really cool, I'm going to, and I couldn't pick one over the other.
I love that. So, we're all going, it's been crazy year. And you said that, well, we had to reschedule our first time for podcast.
Yeah.
You said things are busy with the marine world and with like, what's so different right now for that?
So recreation, it's no secret that recreation was booming this year, and that's anything. So that's, your side-by-sides, your dirt bikes, your boats. So being in the boating industry, that has created just a flurry of everyone wants their boats, and, COVID's not going away, and the discussion of COVID isn't going away anytime soon. So people are already planning on being home or in this area. If, home could be another state, and we have a lot of people that are planning on being here either year round or for the whole season when they usually are just here for a week or two. And so we just have more. We have more people, more demand really. And COVID obviously caused a bunch of shutdowns, leading to a little bit of a shortage in the supply. So there's a few different pieces that have led to really high demand and not very high supply. And people are recognizing that, I think, and they're getting ready for the next year. We have several different boat brands that we carry, and I would say that majority of them are expected to be sold out by the end of this year. So in a couple weeks. Yeah. Yeah. So it hasn't been, and the big discussion right now, we just had a meeting. We just had our meeting with Malibu, and we also just had that conference that we do industry wide each year. And a huge discussion is that these are new buyers in the industry or people that are returning, and their needs as new buyers are inherently more simply because they either don't know, they aren't familiar, they just need a little bit more guidance. And so it's more involved than your, hey, I've had 7 boats, I'm ready to upgrade, get me this one, I'm good to go kind of deal.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So that takes a lot more time for you working with those people. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, which on one hand is really fun because you actually get to build a deeper relationship with those people, and that's probably one of the most fun parts of my job. I know boats are fun and great and all, but so are most of the people, and that's what I love about it is there's a lot of different people coming in, and you get to hear and see and meet all kinds of different stories and backgrounds, and just a lot of interesting, unique things and people coming in.
Yeah, I love that. So it has been a crazy, stressful year. And and all your hobbies do not sound calming. Is there something that you do to maybe like find your center and peace and calm during this hectic with work and life and even your activities?
Oh my gosh. I've thought about this a lot, specifically in the last week, because I think like the past 3 months, I don't know, I had maybe like a little bit of an identity crisis. And I was like, whoa, what just happened this year? Like, what just happened? I mean, I can't complain. It's not in a bad way. I know a lot of people, saw a lot of changes this year. And I know I'm not discrediting anyone that has really struggled or any of that has happened. But I'm in a different industry, and that just, it looks different for me, but my life has still changed drastically. And, Snapchat likes to remind you how your whole year went. And it did that like right before we started the Zoom. And I was like, whoa. So I had a little bit of an identity crisis like the past 3 months. And I was like, okay, I need to like recenter. And I could be better about it. I really don't have anything that's super low key. Like my calm centering time is really when I'm working out, and I love that. And besides that, it's honestly just rolling around in the living room with our little bulldog Chico.
Oh,
So nothing specific, but yep.
well, I'm just curious because people that are go, 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 sometimes, that is the way that I mean, I'm a workout, but I also noticed in my last couple months, I'm the same way. I'm like, why am I feeling more anxious than usual? And I was like, maybe
Yes.
meditate or do more yoga. So I'm always like
Working on the yoga thing.
yeah. So maybe it's me just trying to like get tips. I'm like, how do you calm down? Because my life's kind of similar to you. It's like go, and my hobbies
We'll
are go.
figure it out. Shoot a message over to me.
Okay, I'm like, I need some namaste up in here.
We're in this struggle together.
I love it. I love it. So, Hagedon Marina, Beverly's, you know, I would love to hear what your go-to restaurant is. It doesn't
Oh.
have to be Hagedon. I mean, if you've got some other favorite places, I would love to hear.
So as much as I love Hagedon, I don't like to be on property on my own time.
Yes.
Personal preference.
Mhm.
We get to hang out there with each other at work and with clients and everything. That's kind of a perk of being in that group. But hands down, the porch.
Mm,
Open time, the porch. So, I mean, as I told you, this is Hayden. I'm a Hayden girl. So that is like right at home, very casual, very chill. Whereas the rest of my life, it's kind of, maybe that's like my downtime. I'm like, this feels very calm and very peaceful to me.
it's so chill there. I live right next to Moontime, so I have the sister restaurant next to me.
Yep.
It always the vibe. They just carry this. I mean, the porch, whenever I have a friend that works there too, and I was just like, every time I go in there, it's just like chill, good food, good drinks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like your home style food. You can count on it every single time. It's close. I used to live downtown as well. So for me, when it was downtown, I was at Moontime more than
Yep.
I was at the Porch. That's not, I mean, I'm not out eating at restaurants all the time, but
It's fun.
very, very quickly will I choose the Porch if I'm given the option.
Yeah. Where do you go to dinner? I'll go to the Porch, which is good.
Yeah, my boyfriend's like, can we not do that one this time?
I love it.
I'm like, we can.
Exactly. So you are a go-getter. You are motivated, whether it's Ironman, your job, or whatever. And so you're probably inspiring many people around you, and you're constantly doing your best. What inspires you to be the best you?
Oh man, I feel like that changes in every situation, and honestly, every day, probably multiple times a day. But I really feel like every opportunity that was given to me, I am owed my best effort. So that really comes from, I don't know, maybe grandma and grandpa did some babysitting so that mom and dad could provide a better life, which ultimately provides me with a better life. Like it's very deep rooted that you are given so many opportunities. And I really do believe that. And you can always do better and make better of them. And someone made a sacrifice somewhere, and I don't think that it's acceptable to allow that sacrifice to go unnoticed in your efforts.
I love that. That's perfect. Do you have someone in your life that maybe is your hero or that you look up to?
Oh yeah. So my grandpa absolutely is my hero. And when I kind of want to clarify, because when I think of hero, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I would love to be that person, or I love that they did this, or love, and it's very like specific.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I really challenge people, and myself especially, like, why are they your hero? Like for me, it's my grandpa was always like my biggest supporter, my biggest fan. I always felt my most authentic self and very excited and motivated. And I also just feel very like very obligated to make him proud. So that's one of those people where I feel like, he gave me his best, and now I'm going to run with that and give my best in all that I can. But yeah, my grandpa, for sure.
I love that. There's nothing better than grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. I mean, I was lucky growing up until like in the last, 5 so years, and losing grandparents. But I grew up with like all my grandparents plus some like extra grandparents, like step grandparents, and they've all been fantastic. And I look back, and some of my biggest, best life lessons, I'm always like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
my grandma said, all of these things, and my grandpa said this, and I can recite their words, and so
Yeah.
it's incredible. And like I said, the life lessons are endless. You have learned,
Yeah.
you can kind of hear them in the back of your head. You're like, oh yeah, my grandma would. So speaking of the life lessons, is there a life lesson that you have learned kind of the hard way?
I love this question. And this is one of those that circled back into the whole Ironman failure thing, but failure, literally everything about it. So how, like I was saying earlier, how you face it and respond to it, how you process and adapt through it, how you change and improve because of it. Short answer, failure, period.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I think that's a great lesson. It's like, someone told me once, like, it's good to learn to lose. Like it's okay. And it's okay to learn how to lose and lose properly, not properly, but like with grace. Kind of the same thing with failure. You're like, how do you learn from that? I mean, I have failed so many times. I fail on this podcast, like just doing recordings. I'm like, ooh, that sounds bad. I need to work on the lighting or the voice or the camera or whatever. And it's really, you're just learning to perfect it to get even better.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm so bad at it still. So, I mean, there are, like, this year I faced so many new challenges that I had never faced before. And, when you get into the, oh yeah, like, oh, I've seen this, I can respond to that, I've seen that. And then all of a sudden you're like, new challenge, new challenge, new challenge, new challenge. And you're like, whoa, I thought I was good at this. No, I'm not. And it's not that you're not, but it's never the same.
Yes.
And that's why always a lesson. It's always applicable. It's always a lesson. And it is always something worth learning.
And it humbles you. Like you're constantly being humbled.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, just when things are going well and you're starting to feel on top of the world and you're like, I'm the queen. And then they're like, nope, you're going to fail another time. You're like,
Yep.
okay, step back, queen.
Yep.
Out.
Take a breath. Namaste.
There it is again. Oh, so you have so much energy and you're so awesome. What is, if you had a billboard, let's say right in downtown Coeur d'Alene, and you could put anything in this billboard, it could say or have anything on it, what would you put on it?
Okay, I did think about this one a lot, and I probably was overthinking about this one because I was like, oh my gosh, you only have this message, and I did, I was in marketing before I was in sales there at Hagedon, so all my like, okay, what's the font going to be like, and what are the details?
Girl,
but
you need yoga. You need to chill.
Exactly. So I brought it right back down, and I was like, you know what? I'm just leaving it at the original thought. And honestly, I would say, do better, be consistent.
Yes. Consistency. That's like my life motto on anything that I'm trying to do is to be consistent. Cause I think that's when you're the most successful.
Yeah. And honestly, that's probably just a billboard for myself because I think that that's something that I would want to see. I should probably just write that on my bathroom mirror, really.
You probably should. And then with your yoga mantra.
Yep. So I used to keep like a quick quote, like I don't know, just a couple words on the dash of my car. And I got a new car this year, so I haven't done it in a while, but that might be my new one.
Yeah, definitely. That is for sure. So do you have any goals in the next 3 to 5 years? See, I don't even like asking this question because every year changes, and especially with COVID. After COVID, I've learned to be like, there is no plan. We have no 3 to 5 year plan.
What is planning? What is expectation?
But do you have like any projects or any plans that you see yourself in the next couple of years, like really wanting to accomplish, especially since you're so young? You have like, the world is your oyster to do anything, and we could do anything we want. Is there anything you have, in the future, near future?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think any of us would like to do some traveling in the near future, but that's kind of a small one. There's, a lot of it's personal goals for me. Professionally, I kind of went into this year. This is my first full year in sales, even though I have been with the company for a while. And I kind of took that as let's see what I learn. Let me like get a really good feel for it, and I'm gonna put my best foot forward in anything that I try to do with that. This moving into this next year professionally, I know just enough to be like, I'm going to set some really aggressive goals. So I'm putting those together right now professionally, but personally, one big goal, like I said, this last week, I'm like, I have got to find something that gives me a little bit more like well-rounded, I don't know, hobbies, or just something that's not so high intensity, high energy involved. So I would say that's more of like my spiritual one, so to speak. I do have some financial goals that's more like, building a house, either flipping that, getting it into a rental, things like that. I've got Ironman. It's hard to say what the 3 to 5 years look like until then, but this year brought so many changes that I went through the identity crisis, but I haven't figured out any of the answers. Girl, I don't know that I will, but I want to build on that. So there's good things happening and good momentum going. And I definitely want to build on that. I do have like a little bit of a passion project that is still very much conceptual at this point. And I want to get that off the ground and running. And it's very community oriented. And it kind of has like the same goal as you, where it's like connecting people in the area, but more in like a youth role, more like youth mentorship kind of deal. So
I have somebody you should connect. I have like 5 people you should connect with that kind of have the same ideas. So
I love
know any youth mentorship or connecting. I got you, girl. That's what all kids need. That's what all kids under the age of 18, they all need it.
For sure. And team sports I think are great. And I actually love coaching, love it, because I feel like that's currently in how our world works, the best option as far as that mentorship goes. Personal opinion, of course, but
I mean, it is
I,
personal opinion, but I also think that it's so, I mean, sports are crazy right now with, I mean,
yeah,
just in general, if you want to be professional, anything, or if you want to move up the next level, you have to play volleyball all year round, baseball, whatever it is.
yeah.
But the time that a coach or assistant coach gets with these kids, you're teaching them more than the sport. You're teaching them life lessons. You're teaching them how to be a good person. Like, people don't realize what comes with team sports is
Yeah.
so many valuable things.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I see a lot of where that has been undervalued and you don't quite have the right fit as far as the coach goes. And that breaks my heart. And I've seen where the entire athletics idea or concept is undervalued. I mean, it's no secret. So I went to charter, very much academically oriented,
Hard.
and I was an athlete. And so for me, there was so much more to it that, I went to that school knowing what the focus was and everything, but I came out of it with an even stronger passion that there's so much value in team dynamics and that coaching relationship.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That is amazing. I didn't know you were a charter girl. I went to school in Harrison at Kootenai High School. So,
Oh,
yeah, I think later along there was like, they were the same league or conference or whatever they call it.
yeah, we always played Kootenai. Gosh, what's that mascot?
We are the Warriors.
Yes, yep,
Yep.
yep. I actually really like that gym. I remember always liking it.
Well, they built it like right after I got out of high school. So I was like, fantastic. We played in this little gym and now this is huge gym and it's beautiful and it's in the middle of the mountains. It's a great little town. I mean, little like.
Yeah, I was always shocked going out there. Oh, yes.
Yes. So what can myself and our listeners, how can we support you right now?
Oh man. Honestly, just community engagement. I mean, I'm Sailor Taylor on Instagram, so I'm glad that that's sticking because I feel like I get a lot of people that say, "Hey, Sailor Taylor," and I have no desire to be Instagram famous, you guys, but I found that that's one way that our community really connects because we have such a beautiful community. Like, of course, a photo-based social media platform is going to be how our community engages the most. So that way, I just reach out. Like, I mean, I love meeting people and I feel like there's so many good dynamics going on in our community right now. And just meeting and knowing those people. And obviously, professionally referrals are fantastic, but I would love to meet the people that you were telling me share kind of a common goal and concept right now. And I'm not closed to any of that. So really just connecting.
It's perfect. Yeah. So last question, we are all going through this pandemic. It is crazy. No matter if you're living in Coeur d'Alene, New York, anywhere, Italy, wherever you're at, we're all going through something together and it's tough, whether it's mental, physical, losing your job, financial. Give my listeners a piece of advice to like kind of make something better or something to kind of like leave them with during this really rough time.
Get outside. Get outside and just disconnect. There's so much noise. And a lot of it is just that. It's not feedback, it's not constructive, it's not input that you should be consuming. Just get out of the noise.
Yeah. That's perfect. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for giving me your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Crock, and every Monday I release a podcast about different community members here in North Idaho. And then we end the weeks on Fridays with a podcast about the things I'm passionate about: outdoors, adventures, sports, the van life, and even current events. So if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. Thank you again. Now go be kind and do something great.